Madam Speaker, there is an inconsistency or discrepancy between the characterization of status quo. There are so many pre-existing tension and hostility in the status quo due to negative attitudes between Australia and the United States, and their characterization after this visit, suddenly these people will show tokenistic gesture and construct super amicable relationship so that they can continue to engage with each other for the future. If the tension is as bad as they have characterized, I don't know how the tokenistic gesture suddenly enables both of the two heads to suddenly open up the floodgate and continue a meaningful negotiation. That discrepancy of their entire case is contradiction, and that's I'd like to exploit in my speech. Based on this, I'm going to give you 3 crash points and criteria with which we can evaluate the debate so far. Number 1, what's the diplomatic priority right now? Secondly, what's exclusive to presidential talk, unlike any other types of diplomatic negotiation? Number 3, what's the longer-term solution to decrease tensions? I haven't seen any longer-term view from the other side of the house, and that's the jugular vein of the other side of the house. Moving on to the first crash points about what's the diplomatic priority right now. As my deputy explained, we are confronting a unique moment and a tipping point. That is to say, North Korea has developed ISPM successfully. That's exactly why even China changed its attitude and tried to increase international pressure upon North Korea. The reason why this is important is because when Kim Jong-Un successfully invites Donald Trump at this specific moment, the foreseeable outcome is that Kim Jong-Un will use the rhetoric that because we have developed ISPM, then Trump is going to visit us. This is a rhetoric that Kim Jong-un will justify his attitudes. That creates dangerous precedent. Even other rogue states such as Iran will use exactly the same rhetoric and even incentivize to develop ISBM in order to have a leverage or equal power against the United States of America. Therefore, in this specific momentum, if you invite Trump, you are making justification precedent for other rogue states to leverage ISBM and further nuclearization and missile and military aggression. No, thank you. The secondly, is in this specific momentum and tipping point, that is to say, North Korea is even further militarily aggressive compared to 10 years ago, as conceded by the other side of the house. When Trump pays visit to North Korea, that is tantamount to making concession. It's considered as the loose of United States of America that undermine domestic political support inside United States of America, and Trump presidency is weakened because of that. That is harmful because in order for Trump regime to continue to manipulate or control the internal resources, he can no longer focus on other negotiations whenever necessary in the future. That undermines possibility of frequency of future negotiations. Therefore, we believe current diplomatic priority is to continue sanction and show the sense of disengagement with North Korea. Secondly, what's exclusive to presidential talk? They have explained many harm, like hostility and tension, and those are pre-existing harm, which has nothing to do with this specific talk, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. So what is unique to this presidential talk, that is to say, heads of 2 states talk to each other by skipping all low-level negotiation between diplomats and bureaucrats and missionary, is one, if you fail, if 2 heads of the state fail to reach consensus, there's no other options available. Even low-level negotiations are not available option now. Under our model, if we keep step-by-step negotiation process, like a missionary level negotiation, bureaucrat negotiation level, or diplomatic negotiation level, and presidential talk is sort of a last resort. In an ultimate scenario, we would like to have the face-to-face conversation with the head of state. But if you skip all the granular process and suddenly reach the ultimate solution, you undermine all the other low-level negotiation options. That undermines our ability to have any meaningful conversation in the future. Secondly, you symbolically undermine the legitimacy of Trump regime because now in status quo in negotiation table, the democratically elected leader is negotiating with the most ferocious despotic regime in a same playground, same negotiation ground. That gives legitimacy to rogue state in general. That's principally unfair, and that's unique to presidential talk. Go ahead now.
the most despotic countries, and probably not North Korea, but places like, I don't know, Russia or Saudi Arabia, or most of the countries in the world today, do you propose that we don't do any foreign policy with half the planet?
No, like what we defend is like low-level negotiation, like step-by-step negotiation is what we have been already and always enforcing in the status quo. So just having like head by skipping any procedure is what uniquely we oppose in this debate. Finally, in this specific issue, unique to presidential talk, even if like nothing is reached, even if nothing is like decided, the foreseeable outcome is Kim Jong-Un side will interpret this as a political propaganda to strengthen his power. Like Donald Trump could not successfully push his own agenda. Therefore, we won this sort of debate, we won this negotiation. That's a subjective interpretation that he will foreseeably advocate in the country so that he can strengthen his support from the military side. And therefore, this symbolically reinforced the power of propaganda used by rogue state. Therefore, you are undermining the process of negotiation fairly. Finally, what will happen in a longer term? What's a longer term solution? Like their characterization of this visit is very, very moderate. Like these two guys will take a photo and do nothing at all, and that is showing the successful outcome of that. Like if that's the case, you are not really solving anything at all. You are not really you are just superficially making concessions, and that's bad because one, that's used as a propaganda, as I said in my second class point. Moreover, even Trump presidency will lose his credibility and political support domestically. Why is this harmful and significant in this debate? In order for any regime to engage with negotiation, we need sustainability of the regime. We need long-term stability of the regime, and that's a prerequisite for any regime to continue any meaningful negotiation with even rogue state. When the Trump presidency is undermined and becomes unstable diplomatically and politically, that undermines the possibility of any options that regime is able to take up whenever necessary circumstances. Therefore, if you undermine the Trump presidency or Trump leadership by antagonizing domestic supporters and even voters, you are undermining future negotiation. So in a longer term, even if you fail, under our model of low-level negotiation, there is a possibility to recover the fail by having future negotiations possible with stable and sustainable regime. If under your side of the house, when the ultimate options fail, there is no other options above two heads talking to each other. So you are unfairly infringing the range of diplomatic options that we are able to resort to. We are happy to propose. Thank you.